All right. Sorry about that delay. I think we are ready to get started. IT folks, is it possible to get some headphones for this mic? You know, the little things that come on?
Lisa was planning on replacing everybody.
Oh, so nobody has them. Oh, it's fine. It's okay.
I need them.
It's okay.
'Cause I can't.
Yeah, it's hard to.
Yeah, we're sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay. Yes, this is great. Everybody who needs to plug in, are you good? Okay. All right, so yes, we are now officially ready to get started. So we'll move forward with our agenda, starting with roll call. Superintendent Scott, Superintendent Scott. I had to refrain from saying Hooker.
It's okay. All right. Heidi Hensley. Mary P. Bagby. Here. Linda Davis.
Here.
Dr. Patricia Yeager.
Here.
Tim Denson. Dr. Mumby Anderson.
Here.
Dr. Lakeisha Gant.
Here.
Nicole Hull.
Here.
Mark Evans.
Here?
All right, and we have a quorum, so we are ready to move forward with our work session agenda for our September meeting. So we'll start with the board president report. The first item is the superintendent search discussion to use GSBA, and if you all recall, we've already had a presentation. We already had some feedback from all the board members about how to proceed. So this is really the formality of getting a contract approved so that we can move forward with discussions with GSBA. And Mr. Evans and I had a meeting with GSBA, I think it was 2 weeks ago, to sort of outline what this process would look like and what this contract should entail. So I will let Mr. Evans kind of give a debrief on that meeting and then our next steps.
Thank you, ma'am. So we met with GSBA through Zoom, and what we were really talking about was what does the timeline look like for this. And so what we are going to be asking is that tonight we vote on the contract. And we will have GSBA come in October to give us their final outline. But basically how it roughly worked out was that we signed the contract in October. They will come to us in December. They will talk with our stakeholders. They'll meet with us. They'll meet with members of the community, and we'll come up with the types of things that we are looking for in our next superintendent. The call for resumes and will go out, or CVs will go out in January. It'll be open for about 6 weeks. Then it will close. GSBA will take our wants and create a rubric that they will use to score the different candidates, and the highest candidates that score very high on this will be the ones that we will interact with. So that process should happen in May, and then in April we should be able to, that process will happen in March, and in April we will be able to select our superintendent, and we'll go from there. So that was the discussion that we had with them.
And that's a very general discussion. So the nuts and the bolts of the timeline and what the expectations are of each party will be discussed in detail when GSBA returns to have a broader conversation with us at our October meeting. And they will also share a survey to us as board members to complete on what we would like to see in the next superintendent, what our priorities are as board members. So please make sure that you're checking your email consistently in the next few weeks, and you complete that survey so that when GSBA comes back to have a broader conversation about what this will look like for the next 8-9 months, they've got our feedback to use to start the conversations. So I think that covers.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you all are comfortable, well, let me open up the floor for questions. If there are any, Mr. Evans, would you like to kind of navigate the?
Yes, ma'am. I
Okay.
don't see that there are any questions.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Dr.
Sorry, slow. You said something about they will do a first screening of the candidates. Is that optional? Like, we could look and see who all the candidates are?
We'll have access to all
Yeah.
of the
Yeah,
candidates.
okay,
They will
just
just
wanted to-
provide a scoring.
They'll score them for us, but we can look at all the applicants.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, we asked that question as well, and Dr. King was very, very clear that, we are the deciding body, that they will give us every scrap of paper that they collect. But, he was like, that could be 4 people or 400 people. He was like, so and then it comes down to, how much time do we want to take to make this selection? And so, yeah, we'll have it all. Ms. Davis?
Okay, so my question was around, again, this meeting that we're going to have with them is literally to flesh out what we actually are looking for in that superintendent and what we're looking for as a district going forward, some things that.
The initial meeting, you mean?
Uh-huh.
The initial meeting will actually be sort of the procedural aspects of this entire process. They will also, if I remember correctly, they will take our survey results, and that will be the introduction to the board's sort of expectations for qualifications and what we want to see with the next superintendent, right? So it'll start that conversation based on our survey results, but they won't have had an opportunity to engage with other stakeholders at our October meeting. So they will have to do some of those things first before we can then have a more robust conversation about everyone's wants and needs and that will be then used to determine what the application, the announcement looks like. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Any other? Okay. All right, so seeing no further discussion at this work session around this topic, we will go ahead and request that it be moved to the regular board meeting for a vote to approve the contract for the next superintendent search with GSBA.
I move that we place this on the,
You don't have to vote.
oh,
It's a work session, we don't have to vote. But thank you. Yeah. All right, so that item has been moved to the regular board session. And then just informational for the board, we do have a retreat on the books for October 15th? Okay, for October 15th, 6 to 9, 16th, October 16th, Thursday, October 16th, 6 to 9. That was the most preferred time and date from the poll that Ms. Palmer did in GroupMe. So hopefully we will have as many members attend who can participate. We did decide to keep it at a one-day, sort of 3-hour intensive session rather than kind of extending it, just based on, the feelings of previous retreat agendas and what we were able to cover. As a tentative agenda, we've got Superintendent Scott recommended that we start conversations around the FY26 budget at this retreat. So that will give us way more lead time to have conversations with our finance folks about what the tentative budget will look like for FY '27. 26. I don't know. Okay, FY '27, thank you. So that's one of the agenda items. So our finance folks will be at the retreat to have that conversation, that initial conversation. Cognia review is also coming up for the school district. So there'll be a presentation from Mr. Barlament around some of the expectations of board members' participation in the Cognia review. And then we will add to the agenda a discussion on the policy on religious rights. And I don't have the exact name of that policy, but that came up in the beginning of the school year. And so just kind of keeping that fresh in our minds, that it was a pretty interesting turn of events at the beginning of the school year, kind of prompted us to decide to include Mr. Pruitt in conversations about what we can and can't do around strengthening that specific policy based on the events that happened in the beginning of the school year. And then there's going to be some other discussions surrounding property as well. So if you can, again, please, please, please attend the October 16th retreat from 6 to 9. And it'll be here in the district offices, and dinner will be provided. That is all that I have for the president's report. Mr. Evans, do you have anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So next we are going to move to, oh yeah, Dr. Gant.
Madam Chair, I know it sounds like it's already a packed agenda, and so this may not fit there, but I wanted to just sort of throw it out there. I think it was last year or earlier this year, so last school year, when we were talking about the leave, like we made changes to our leave policy, and at that time, we did not move forward on a sick leave bank, but there were conversations about us maybe putting that for a future topic of conversation at maybe one of our retreats.
Okay.
And so I don't know that it'll fit there. But if the board is open to having that somewhere this academic year or this semester, so that if that is an area that, if that's an area that we want to move in, that we could at least have done that work by next school year.
Okay. Okay.
I would support that.
Yeah, okay. I think, Dr. Scott, you and I can talk about this at our next meeting and see if there's time in this agenda to cover or to add that policy for this discussion. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to. I mean, we only have 2 policies and a couple of items, so we'll talk about it.
Yeah, and when it comes to the retreat, I know that what Lisa Palmer actually shared was a 5 to 9, a
Okay.
4-hour, that's what the poll said. So I'm assuming that we are looking at 4 hours, or do we need to adjust that to be 3?
No, I just did not, I didn't clock that, so.
Okay.
Okay, so that gives us a lot more time than I thought that we had. So I think we can certainly add that. Do other members support adding that as an agenda item to our retreat?
Just a clarification, because I didn't hear exactly what we're adding.
The sick leave
yeah.
bank conversation.
Very good. Okay, I know now, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments? Okay. All right, now we are ready to move forward to item 4, and that is a plethora of policies. So we will start with policy FDC, first read for the naming facilities. If you all remember, we have an ad hoc committee that has been meeting to add language, discuss potential exhibits or regulations to the existing FDC facilities naming policy. So I guess we can just open up the floor for initial thoughts, and Mr. Evans, if you don't mind facilitating questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's a line, I think it's 3 .3, I guess, that says the LSGT will accept all written proposals for the name or renaming. What does that mean? Does that mean they receive them and then they talk about them, or that all proposals received will be accepted, like acted upon? It seems like an odd wording.
Yeah,
So-
was that they would, that they would be brought in and that.
They would be received.
They would be received, yes, ma'am. And then. the
Which is
LS
different from approved, I guess.
Right,
So
right. And then,
accept.
yeah, because we don't want to, we want everyone to feel comfortable to be able to present to the LSGT. Just because you present something doesn't mean that it's going to happen. And so that's, this way we're being fair and equitable to everybody. They're giving everyone a chance.
Could we change the word from accept to something else that's a little bit less like approve? Maybe? I don't know. Wordsmithing. Where's the lawyer?
I like received. They will
Receive,
receive
or discuss, or
something, but I agree.
Review.
review, yeah.
Review might be a good one. It does on line 4 say deliberate the names and provide a recommendation. So, but I see what you're saying. Somebody could get stuck on that line. And-
Just a little wordsmithing, yeah.
So perhaps review might be a good, in the abs, Dr. Moore? Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know that there are questions. There may be questions, but since it is a first read, I wanted to just share some general concerns. I probably sound like a broken record by now, but since it's here for a first read, I hold the opinion that there is a lot that the new revised policy does not capture. I also admittedly don't think that we needed a new policy. And so I have concerns, again, that we are here after naming 2 elementary schools after African-American women. This is not where we were when we renamed Stroud, from my recollection. I think that this proposal, I think it's in response to, I think maybe unintentionally, it's in response to people having concerns that, I guess the right people having concerns. And so I do have some concerns that the board is removed from this. I mean, ultimately, I do know that, from what I understand, the board will take action. But having this go back to the LSGT, I really have some concerns about when we renamed Holston Elementary, that LSGT, which was, I suppose, well within their right, decided to take action on that decision, but that decision was not theirs. And so I don't like opening that path up. I respect the role of LSGTs, and I, to a certain degree, understand shared governance. But I'm not convinced that our LSGTs, first of all, represent the student populations we serve. I don't know that they represent a sort of a foundational knowledge of the history of Athens and people who have contributed significantly to education, and I don't just mean Black people. And so I have some more specific notes that I'll share out with the board, but overall, I just think the board has to do sometimes hard things. And ultimately, the board is responsible for governance. And so we have a policy that allows for input. And so putting this out to schools, I think it removes the board and it brings the board back at a very, very late stage. I also think that all LSGTs are different, and we know that based on the LSGT makeups and the vacancies, and sometimes schools struggling to get people on their LSGT. And so what that means to me is that schools that don't have that representation, or schools that don't have like, that are not like the privileged schools, if you would, or whose LSGTs have a lot of power, then those schools, you know, we don't know what their process will be, because from reading this, it's sort of a process based on the LSGT. So I could keep rambling on and on. I do have some specifics that I'll share, but I really am opposed to this being a first read. I'm opposed to the premise as well. And it is disappointing. I do respect my colleagues who have worked to put together this policy, but I hope this is consistent with what I've shared before. And so, I respect the will of the board, you know, if we decide to move it forward as a first read, but I'm not in support of it.
Oh, Ms.
Ms. Davis?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gant. I appreciate that. I think in looking at this policy, again, what I want to, the void that I see in the policy is an issue of frequency. So I walked away from our meeting thinking that, and I think it was well captured, that we were leaving the school naming as a decision of the board, not the LSGTs. They can simply recommend. We left things like fields, sports fields, rooms in buildings. We moved that back to the LSGT because of its proximity to the community that they are created to serve. So the schools and any district facilities still are the sole responsibility of the board in the renaming process, if that was our intent. What I am missing here in this policy is a frequency. So I don't want us to start spending all of our time listening to reports of where we renamed something and changed it back and renamed it again. So there's nothing that talks about the permanency of the renaming in any of our policies, and so therefore I felt like that was missing. The next thing is the procedures. And so we don't have the regs to go with this policy. This is purely the policy, and it definitely should give the guidance around what we are to do. But I fully expect that once the regulations and the procedures are defined, that they will come back before the board, at least for a review. I can't remember if we said we're not going to vote on those, but I don't see any reason that we shouldn't see them. And I think they should be, I think regs should always accompany a policy change so that, again, we know how it's being interpreted, right? And it gives us more information to make a better decision.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. And if I remember right, at our last meeting where we were having the conversation around the ad hoc committee, there was some conversation had around what will the application look like and some of those things. And so, yeah, it is helpful to see the process so that you are informed when you vote on the policy that the policy will be rightly sort of implemented. But I know that that's not how the law works, so it's really hard. For me, I'm a policy analyst, like that's my brain, and the law first is enacted, and then everyone responds with policies. So it's really interesting that we would want those things, and I understand that. But yeah, maybe that is what we need to make an informed decision and to be more comfortable in our decision. So yeah. Yeah, and I would support it, sure.
This being my 13th year on the board, we've gone from policies only to insisting that we had the regs to go with the policies, because often we found that the regs did not match the policies.
Right.
And so, in
I
order for
understand.
us to not have to go back and forth with the policies, if we could actually understand how it's going to be implemented, then we would absolutely know the impact of our words.
Understood.
Thank you.
Dr. Yeager, you've had your light on for a while.
Yeah, I appreciate what Dr. Gann is saying as well. And it was my understanding that the names of schools would be the prerogative of the board, and that is not what this policy says. So did we make a decision different from what we talked about? Who decided that?
No, ma'am, it's in 5. The superintendent will make a recommendation to the board for all naming and renaming applicable to this policy. So that.
Part 3 says naming and renaming. Existing schools and athletic venues may be named at the request of a school community.
Yeah, I think the key word is request. They'll request it. We don't have to accept it. If someone decides that they want to name something Robert E. Lee Academy, we'll say absolutely not. It's a request. It's not, we get requests all the time. So I don't understand the confusion. I'm sorry.
If I may, I think
There's 4.
it would be, I think what you're saying, Mr. Evans or Dr. Evans is, maybe it would be better Dr. Yeager, if we look at 3, maybe put in Mark's .5 as a number 4. I see the confusion being, it looks like the naming process is all in number 3. And so they're done at number 3 before they get down to 5. So if we could make the big Roman numeral 5 a part of Roman numeral 3 and maybe make it .5 or something like that, I think that would address or at least clarify that it doesn't stop with the LSGT.
Okay, so under 3, there are 4 sub-policies. And the 4th one says, all proposals submitted must also be shared with the superintendent for board review and approval, and that applies to item 3. So what I hear everyone saying is that language, that specific sentence should be moved as number 5, so that it's very clear that anything under number 3 must also then be shared with the superintendent for board review and approval. Will that help?
I think it would help me if we're going to have Roman numeral 3 be the naming and renaming process, that all the steps that must start the application to the finish should be there, so that you don't get on to the next part until you hit every single point.
Okay. Dr. Scott has a suggestion.
I'm thinking one thing that might clear it up is if we separate out the renaming of a school and then do a separate step-by-step for the renaming of
Yes.
a facility on that campus, whether it be athletic or a building.
That would definitely
Yeah,
help.
that's how we.
It would help with community interpretation as well. And sorry to hijack, because I know the president isn't supposed to, but I do kind of want to respond to what you were saying, Dr. Gann. And I actually do wholeheartedly agree with you. I don't think that this is a thing that we needed to do. At the time, there was a lot of board contention around not getting community input, and so the consensus of the board was to move forward with implementing a new policy. So we kind of had to follow this consensus of the board. I do wonder, too, if it's worth sort of a reflection of what it could mean if this board in the future does not look like this. And if having a policy where the local community, the LSGT, and other stakeholders embedded in that community, regardless of the composition of the board, get to have this preliminary input and discussion on renaming their buildings. I do agree with Ms. Davis that some sort of parameter of like how long does this happen would be really nice too. But what's going to happen in the next election if, I mean, we've seen it's possible. if this board does not look like a representation of our communities, if this policy does not exist to sort of, and I know that they will always have the power to redo the policies, but at least we would know that that is something that, at least it would become a public conversation that this is what they're doing. So I don't know. I'm super on the fence about it. And I don't want to have this public policy conversation, but
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I think this is probably the place to have it, you know, because this is where it sort of, from what I'm understanding, that people felt confused from me listening to the public meeting or the meeting that the ad hoc committee had. And I think that there are a lot of what ifs. I mean, it's a very real, I mean, it is a possibility, but we're taking a policy that has existed in some form, like similarly, and that has not happened. And so I just can't, and again, this may not be founded in any truth. I'm probably projecting some, maybe, but when certain people have a problem with the decision, that's not the time to collapse under that pressure. And I know that we all consented, or for the most part, the people that voted on the substitute motion, that we would move forward with the renaming, assuming that we will revisit the policy. But it's also within the right of the board to go back to this and say, hey, we can keep our policy as it is. And so I guess it's just that this idea that's out there and floating that there was not enough public input. We've made more major decisions with less public input, but that was not something that led us to change a policy. And when you look through this, like even with number 4, it says new school and district facility naming or renaming will be initiated by the district. Well, who's the district? Is that the board? Is it the superintendent? Is it the district staff? We know that the average time that superintendents stay, I just can't help but think that this is in response to people with power and voices having a problem. And that will happen when decisions that are made are hard, but I just don't see it as something that LSGT should be involved in, and that boards that should. Now, is this the sole goal of the board? Of course not. It's one of those sort of unique privileges, right? I mean, our focus is on student achievement and superintendent evaluation and budget, but I just don't see here that this is in response to this idea that, well, people were confused, or initially when we had this conversation, it was like, well, we didn't follow the policy. Well, yeah, we did, but people were still upset. And it's not ideal, but it will happen. And had this policy or some element of this policy been in place when we tried to rename those schools, it would have never happened. And sometimes we have people on LSGTs that would not even send their grandkids or kids to Clark County sometimes. But we're saying, hey, okay, here you go, we want you to be responsible for it. So anyway, I've belabored the point, but that's sort of where I stand.
well, that's what a work session is for. So thank you, Dr. Gant, for your thoughts.
I have a question, because I'm hearing things from the community that they're having the children to write essays at one of the schools to change the name back. So, and we're still not coming to a definite conclusion about how we are going to go about renaming and naming schools. So could somebody give me some clarity on that, please?
So the question was around the timeline of this policy?
The question is the school going to continue to be what they are named, the last 2 schools? Because I was told that the schools are having the children write essays about why the schools should be changed back to the other name. And we seem to continue to go back and forth with these policies. And I think the problem started when it was suggested to name the schools, and some people got agitated because they didn't give their suggestion.
Okay. So the policy as it's written, the board has full authority to review any recommendations for renaming a school or facility. So children's essays, while they are super meaningful and important, may not get to the board for consideration for renaming a facility. If the policy changes to some version of this draft, then the beginning of that process could start at the LSG level, but it would still ultimately need to be decided, discussed, and approved by the board. So a school, regardless of the old policy or the new policy, individuals or groups in a school cannot determine when a school gets renamed. Does that help a little bit?
It helps, but
Okay.
the question is, they want to go back to the old name. They're writing essays. I'm saying, are we going to be considering that?
At this moment, no.
Okay.
But again, any constituent who wants to review the policy on facility naming and follow the policy all the way up to the board are welcome to do that. But they're not, I mean, currently, the way these policies are written, the board has the authority to approve the renaming of a school.
Thank you.
So that would be a no. I guess if you're asking for a concrete answer, no. The schools aren't going to get changed back. Okay.
So I agree wholeheartedly with Dr. Gant in terms of how we got here. But I feel, and I love your response, Dr. Anderson, I just feel like it's maybe the converse. I feel like there's more diversity at the board level, more responsibility. I think at the LSGT levels, it can be very popularity club, very unified in turn, or uniform, very uniform, and not be very diverse. And I don't think there's the same level of responsibility that we bring as boards in terms of we've taken the oath to represent all of the children in our district, not just our districts. And I think there's a lot of power in us being able to be elected by a larger group. So I share the same concerns, and I hear Ms. Davis's concern with the frequency and making sure that it's not back and forth. I just wonder, is there a way for us to still maintain the responsibility per the policy that it was before we started changing it, but address the concerns with frequency and address making sure there is a outline process that is clear, but taking the power away from the board and putting it with the LSGTs, I have some concerns about that as well, and I feel like we would be really harming our children.
So my last comment was again around not only the frequency, right? How often will you allow people to rename a school? We still haven't addressed that. We don't have to address that. We just simply have to know that that is our power. So again, the thing that drove me to look at this policy or even jump on this ad hoc committee is the fact that we had a community member, very, very well-respected community members, and all of our community members have value to us. They came to this board, was it at least 5 months in a row?
A year.
For one solid year to simply name a baseball field. I felt like that was not at our space. I felt like that, because it's on a school property, could have been efficiently and effectively handled within that school community. So the naming of facilities within a school's footprint, I felt like could very easily be left in our charter school diaspora that we have now to the local community. And again, there should be an appeal process, but because we don't have procedures. So that was what I was going for in this. I felt it was disrespectful to our community to have someone come to us for a year and repeatedly ask for something as simple as naming a baseball field. And by the way, it's a beautiful field. I saw the pictures already. It's going to be exciting. But the point being, there are things that we should belabor, and there are things that I feel like we should be able to dispose of more efficiently. So I'm looking for us to find a way to do those things so that we can spend 42 minutes talking about student achievement.
Okay.
Would that be able, would we be able to do that without renaming? Would we be able to, or would, and this is the honest question, would that be memorialized with a sign, with a bench, with something other than us going through a renaming policy and giving LSGTs that power to have other fixtures at the school? Is that an avenue? I mean, I'm asking in earnest.
Okay.
So, well, can I start where my thought process is? We are not giving any of our power away, at all. We are the only body that can rename a school, all right? And renaming a school is a big deal, because once we rename it, then we've got to take it to the state. The state has to give it a new code. It has, I mean, I remember at the board training that I went to when I was first elected, they were like, the worst thing that you can do is rename a school, okay? However, the reason that I kind of brought this forward wasn't because of any outside forces or anything. It was because we had a pastor who was trying to get a baseball field named. And we had not looked at this policy. And the thing that I like is I like order. And we have a charter system in which we give a lot of power to the LSGTs to be able to do local decisions. So if we want to name a music room after some band director, there's no reason for us to do that. We don't, there's no, and that's a community decision that needs to be handled there. If you want to rename a school, though, that is in our purview. That is where we're going. Now, it would be nice if it came from a more organic thing than all of us putting up two names and saying, hey, this is what we want to do, right? I mean, because that's the policy, right? So we're looking at, we would go through 20 names. If we followed the policy correctly, we would have 20-some names. And, you know, and honestly, I just wanted to have a way where the community was able to have a conversation with themselves first, because they've got to come to consensus first. You know, and if they say, no, that's not going to happen, then it doesn't happen. It doesn't come to us. All right? But, you know, this is a way for us to get the people who are affected the most, their input. And, you know, honestly, people can write as many essays as they want. Those schools, those names are never going to change. As long as I'm on this board and draw breath, that will not happen.
I have a quick clarifying question.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Evans and Ms. Davis, when you say that, you know, there's an aspect of this, because we do want to involve people in the schools, if I'm understanding our old policy correctly, there was nothing in our old policy that prevented anyone from putting forth a name or a recommendation for the field to be named after Mr. Holston, or am I misunderstanding that our current policy just dealt with like the whole facility?
Unfortunately, ma'am, because of the compromise that we had to make, where we said that we would not rename anything until we revisited this policy, we could not do anything until we revisited the policy. That's why we had to suspend the rules in the last meeting to be able to get the baseball field named after Coach Holston.
So we had a policy on the books that we could not use, is
No,
what you're saying?
We took a vote, ma'am, as a board.
Okay.
When we voted for Burks and Holston. there was a substitute amendment to that that said that we would not name any other facilities until we revisited this policy that was brought forward by Mr. Denson.
Yeah, I remember the motion, I
Yeah.
just don't remember it saying that we would not rename. I thought
Yeah.
it said that we would revisit, we would revise this policy, but I didn't understand that to mean that we would then not follow the policy that we had.
No,
in
ma'am,
place.
we had Ms. Palmer look it up, so that way we wanted to make sure, because we wouldn't suspend the rules. You know, I mean, suspending the rules is really the last thing we want to do inside of a business meeting. But because of the substitute motion that was put in there, we had to do that. And that's why it took us, a year. And I'd like to give the flowers to Pastor Sandoval for hanging there and actually walking with me through the LSGT at Cedar Shoals. He and I went there. We met with everyone there. The principal put it in the Cedar Shoals email flyer that every family gets, in that zone. And so people were a part of the process, and they were, and they voted unanimously for it to happen. So, I get what you're saying, and, we are not giving up the naming rights to anything, All I'm trying to do is add a little bit more clarity so that way, people can come and say their piece on it. And while this policy here has that in there, right, it feels like, instead of putting together a committee of people, we already have a committee already built that was voted on by the people in that school. And maybe that would be enough to motivate people to actually join the LSGTs, right, to be a part of that decision.
Okay, so yes, we have
Thank you,
been
ma'am.
talking about this for a long while. And I'm doing like a preliminary head count of how this vote might fall, and it does not seem like this draft as written, and I know that this is a first reading?
Yes.
It says final reading, but, okay. I know that it's going to come back to the board, and I think that it probably needs substantial revisions if it's going to get approved by this board. And I don't want to waste any more time sort of talking through what these revisions might look like. But I do wonder, Dr. Scott mentioned breaking it down into two portions, one on facilities, buildings, and the other on rooms, spaces inside of buildings. So maybe that might help, having clarification in this policy on those two separate procedures. The second, I wonder if, so for number 3 on naming facilities, I think that it may be wise to include some language on LSGTs being able to accept nominations, but also individual community members being able to submit nominations in response to or in addition to provide a robust list of recommended name changes, so that it's not just exclusively running through one governing board, but it can also have a separate arm. And then it also sounds to me like some language on the timeline for how long a school can maintain its new name once renamed be somehow embedded into the policy as well. If we're talking 20 years, 10 years, I don't even know if that's enforceable, because a new board could just change the policy, but it might be nice to just have that as a matter of public record for this board. And then I'm also hearing some language on just, I don't know how Ms. Bonet might do this, but adding a little bit more of the board control back to this policy. So reading through it and looking at some spaces where more board collaboration, conversation, deliberation may be had. So hopefully I captured this conversation. If a new policy draft comes for a second read and it's still lukewarm like this, then I think we may just decide to not move forward, because I don't think we have the votes at this moment. It looks like it's very split down, more than the middle.
So just for clarification, because this is the work of a committee that came together, so is there a need to reconvene that to address the requested revision?
That's a really good question. Does the ad hoc committee want to handle some of these really heavy requests from board members, or do we entrust Ms. Bonet to?
I like the committee.
Okay.
I like the committee as well.
Okay. All right. So I think what we'll do, since this is just the first read, we will send it back to committee with all of those recommendations. And I do like the idea of, as Dr. Gant and others mentioned, LSGTs may not always comprise, just like PTOs, just like anything at the school level, they don't always comprise the true population of that school. So when you leave decision-making to a small constituency of people who don't always represent the total population, then you're opening the doors to a lot of things. So this language on this existing policy, I think, should reflect that very, very true fact. Okay. Unless anyone has any questions or comments, I think this is dead. I think we can maybe move on and, yeah.
But I do want to make sure that, if we are trying to implement a charter system with fidelity, and if we can't see that that requires us to make some changes in terms of how policies are addressed as we try and go forward with that, then I think that we will continue to just kind of pay lip service to the charter system. And I would hate for us to have invested this much time, energy, and effort in creating that and then disregard its value. So we need to make them better and stronger. And I know that they're not all created equal, but I know that that should be our priority, is to have them equally represent the communities that they serve.
Yes, and I do understand that. And I think if there was a space where, for example, Mr. Denson knows with the Policy Council for Early Head Start and Head Start, there are very strict regulations on what that policy board looks like. And we don't have that with LSGTs. So we can't say a parent must be from a homeless family or population. We can't say a parent must be, 5% of the population of the LSGT must represent the total student. We don't have those parameters in our LSGTs, and so I've seen LSGT, and this goes back to the conversation earlier that LSGTs don't always represent the total student body of the populations in the schools, and we can talk about this all day long and agree and disagree, but so anyway, those are my thoughts on the conversation that I heard and what may get a policy approved. But again, if other people have thoughts to add, please send it to the ad hoc committee, send it to Ms. Bonet's, and maybe a second read will be a better read, but the way that I'm reading the room right now, this policy as written will not be approved. Okay. Moving forward, we have 75 other policies. Internet acceptable use first read, and if you all remember, we got a policy memo from Ms. Bonet's around some of the changes to these policies, and this one was included in that. I did not see any questions in the questions document related to this policy, but if you all have questions or comments now, Mr. Evans will facilitate conversation. Nope. Okay. Okay. Policy C. Oh, yes. Okay. And just as a point of information, this policy, according to state legislation, must be approved by October 1st. And the language recommendations were not sent to school districts until July, when we had already convened for the rest of the year. And so it's coming forth for us in a hurry, in a rush, and I know we all hate that, but it kind of, we couldn't help it. So that's just a point to mention. Okay?
So that means we have to approve it
We have
tonight.
to suspend the rules and approve it at our regular board meeting tonight. So suspend the rules to send it out to public comment, and then approve it tonight. If we agree with the language, approve it tonight. But we have to have something submitted to the state to comply by October 1st. Ms. Bagby?
Yes, I had a question about the Senate Bill 351, because the way I was reading it was, I'm asking the question is, are we saying that we're not going to allow the public to comment and that we can adopt this without the public comment?
Yes, the conversation right now is at the regular board meeting. We're going to put it on the agenda, and someone will have to make the recommendation to, or the motion, sorry. Someone will have to make the motion to suspend the rules for this policy to go out for public comment so that we can approve it at our September board meeting. The reason is that we have to comply with the Senate Bill 351, and their rules stated that all school boards around the state must have a policy in place by October the 1st. Does that answer your question?
So you're saying it's a deadline situation?
Correct. It's a state legislation deadline situation. The law has made it a requirement that all school boards approve a policy by October 1st.
Okay.
And this policy, if I remember right from the memo, we will have an opportunity to review this policy at a future date. So there will be an opportunity to have public comment and further discussion around it in the next school year. But this policy does have to be in our books by October 1st. Does that help? Okay. Questions? Okay. Policy C, DJE, purchasing. And there was a question in the document about the $10,000 threshold. Would you like to clarify that, Dr. Scott?
Sure. So the $10,000 threshold was to increase that right now. If there are any purchases made that are $3,500 or more, it requires 2 quotes. This increases it to $10,000 so that way it is not slowing down opportunities for schools and departments to make purchases. When we think about that, we're also updating this to basically mirror what the state has in place as well. And it also creates a space where we are able to move a little bit quicker with making purchases, recognizing that the cost of things has increased significantly since the last time we increased that minimum amount.
Are there questions?
I was just going to say, there's a lot more here to this than just that change. And so why all of a sudden does it feel like we've added 4 pages of procedure to this policy instead of putting them in procedures or regulations? Are all of these details required in the policy to be legally correct? Or like, it just feels like we added a whole lot of stuff.
So my response was just to the question that was included in the Q&A document, but I'll let Mr. Griner kind of share the rationale behind why they wanted to add a little bit more detail within that policy.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Yeager. So when Ms. Boness and Mr. Pruitt and I met, along with Veronica Jackson, who's our purchasing supervisor, sorry, let me get that a little closer. We had a regulation that was pretty lengthy as well, and then the policy actually was pretty lengthy. So I think when Ms. Boness looked at it, she thought if we combine the policy and the regulation into one document, it's kind of hard to tell with all the green there, but the policy was actually fairly lengthy as well. So I think her rationale was if we combine them together, it would make it simpler. Because we kind of there was some repetition in the regulation and the policy as well. but I understand what you're saying. Typically, your policy is shorter and then your regulation is longer, so.
Yeah, I hate to disagree with you, Mr. Griner, because I love you so much, but, I mean, the red is less than 1 page of text, and we now have 5 pages of green text, so that doesn't quite add up.
Yeah, I think if, and Mr. Pruitt, correct me if I'm wrong, I think when you go back and look at the original, the policy, I think had more. I think the way it's presented, I can check with Ms. Bodess on this too, because I think the way it's presented is a little distorted as well. But
Okay.
yeah, no, Dr. Yeager, we can definitely check on that. That's not a problem at all.
Yeah, I think Mr. Griner's right. So if you look at the old policy and reg together, it was longer than this, than what's left. And of course, there's a lot of strikeouts in here. Having the reg and the policy, they had gotten, as Mr. Griner said, there were some duplication, there were some conflicts, there was some creation of ambiguity. So it seemed to make more sense to just have one document and try to avoid those.
So if I understand, just to follow up, the procedures are not changing, other than this one change with the 3,500 to 10. We're not voting on a new process for purchasing.
No, it's, and Ms. Jackson, gave very good input. We made sure she was in the room whenever we discussed this, because I mean, she's the one who deals with it on a daily basis.
Okay.
The only change is that 3,500 to 10,000. As Dr. Scott said, it also follows federal guidance as well. They changed the micro purchase limit actually last year, and we just thought as we're going through the cycle of policies, now is the best time to look at that. Okay. In our meetings with our bookkeepers, we're doing a bookkeeper roundtable now 3 times a year. It's always been a source of, we could get that, increased, it would, free, it just makes the
I'm
process.
supportive of that change. I just was wondering why we
Yeah.
did all the other things. But
Yeah,
it's just
no,
to
pretty-
make it consistent with what we're already doing.
Right, and we left the 50,000 threshold the same as well. That was the other thing that we wanted to make sure y'all realized, that we did not change that. So.
I think Ms. Davis, I think.
So my quick question is, again, trying to keep it separate. We were trying to disaggregate the board from operations, and so the policy is in the purview of the board, and the procedures and operations are in administration. So by doing this policy with procedures as well as the policy, we're kind of sending a double message here. I'm concerned, because I want this level of clarity on most policies, but I'm not allowed to have that because it's operations and it's the how we do things, and that seems to get the board into that space of trying to, what is that word they tell us we do?
Micromanage.
Yeah, and so I need, I'm not young anymore, so it's hard for me to just jump from one way to the other.
Okay. Mr. Dunn.
Thank you. Yeah, and my question was also on the changing the threshold, and I guess mainly on, it's talked about that by doing so, going from 3,500 to 10,000 for the micro purchases, that will help smaller and minority-owned businesses be able to apply, because it says that that's one of the recommendations of the disparity study. So I guess I was wondering, so for the purchases under $3,500, did we see a larger percentage of diversity with our purchases under that threshold? So we feel like if we move that up, it'll help?
I think in, as Ms. Jackson started the advisory committee meeting, I think they've discussed that threshold in there, Mr. Ditson, and I think it was a point that was brought up in there. I don't know, like, if we've seen a real material change in that, but I think it was brought up in those committee meetings, so.
Okay.
Or the advisory committee she's had, that, they thought that would help with that process. It's really more at the school level with our bookkeepers, trying to get, and we looked at other districts around us too, to see what they had. I won't tell you what Madison County's threshold is. It's not 50, it's 250, but we won't get into that. That was a little high. So, but I mean, you look at Walton, and so we did look at Walton, Barrow, Oconee, Madison, surrounding counties too, to kind of see. Most all of them have adopted the 10,000 now as well. So.
Okay. And also just wanted to plug and thank your team. I know that on Wednesday, October 22nd, because of the disparity study, y'all are holding a vendor fair for local minority-owned businesses to be able to better understand how to become vendors with the school district.
Yes, sir.
So definitely greatly appreciate y'all doing that, and I hope the community and other vendors come out for that. So.
Yeah, we appreciate that comment. It's, we started the series last year. We hope to expand upon it. We've added new committee members to that advisory committee. We talked about that in our meeting this morning, our department meeting. So I'm really excited about some of the new members of that committee. ACC Gov actually reached out to us to see if they could partner with us this year. So we love that collaboration. I told Ms. Jackson, I said it kind of makes us feel better too that we've started this last year. They're just now starting it this year. So, you know, it's kind of what we did include UGA last year, and they're going to be a part of it again this year as well. So.
Okay, are there other questions? Okay, so that, we were at purchasing, so that's the first read. Are there concrete recommendations on changes before it comes back for a second read? I just want us to be comfortable when it comes back that we're good. Okay, and that questions document is still out there, so feel free to continue to interact with the district. Policy JR, student records, and this is a first read, and if you remember in our retreat, we had a pretty robust conversation about this, and then there was also some language from Senate Bill 212 that we had to incorporate into this policy. So it's sort of like a reaction of our conversation at the retreat and then the Senate bill. We'll open up the floor. Okay, so seeing no comments, we'll move on to, or questions, we'll move on to E. That is GAHB, Staff Political Activities, and this is our second read. Let's see. This is up for 5-year review. I think that this was one of the ones at our last meeting where there was some confusion around the language that was being struck versus the language that was being adopted. No, that was not. Okay, never mind. No changes recommended. Sorry. Okay, so are there any questions about this one? Okay. All right. Thank you for that, doctors. Okay, next is GAC, Staff Involvement in Decision-Making, second read. And there was some public comment. I don't know if you all had a chance to read that. And there were some questions in the questions document surrounding whether or not this policy is necessary, does all this already happen, et cetera. Dr. Scott, do you want to kind of do a little intro?
Sure. So the question was generally around, is this specific to operations, the district's, district administrative staff, LSGTs, our charter system? But in general, this is simply just a statement that speaks to how we conduct business, ensuring that we are considering opportunities to involve stakeholders in the decision-making process. So it is not exclusive to district administration. It is not exclusive to LSGTs.
Okay. Any comments, questions?
Is it necessary? In the operating procedures, does the staff have responsibility in decision-making? I mean, that they're the experts on things, right? So it just seems to be one of those things that's just, I don't know, it's kind of like when I was growing up, it's like, don't hit your brother. Right? And so it's not, it doesn't say anything to me. I don't know why we have this and what precipitated us having to have a policy that says that the staff is to be involved in decision-making. That's what we hire staff to do. What decision-making are we talking about? I don't understand.
Okay.
This leaves me just really concerned that it can be a gateway to unforeseen things, unplanned things, but it also can be an excuse for things that we don't necessarily agree with or understand. It just is too vague in terms of, I think it's stating the obvious. Right?
Understood. Okay, so there were a couple of board members who asked about the relevancy of this policy. I mean, it dates back to 1996, so I would imagine it's probably surrounding some politics or something major that happened that led to this policy being in the books. We don't know that history, so here we are. So I guess the question for you all as board members, is there strong sentiment that we should consider rescinding this policy? Or is there enough ambivalence that this policy is worth keeping in the books since it's been on the books for almost 20 years? Yes. Oh, Ms. Beck, okay.
So when it's concerning staff having, find it on here, staff involvement in decision-making for policy. So we are the board, is that the staff over there? Is that the staff?
Correct, yes, and the staff in the school buildings as well. So this is not the board. This policy is around staff of the school district.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm asking because they seem to come up and talk at the microphone about certain things, so I just want to get some clarity on who is staff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. And staff can be broken down into multiple sort of classifications. So they would be district administration, but then there's the staff in the school buildings, there's this, there's support staff around the entire district. But yes, this policy does not involve the board being a part of making committees, councils, or teams. Those would be under B policies. This is exclusive to staff in the district, including our district administration.
Okay.
Yes. I think we had,
I guess it would be helpful for me to understand what has the participation been around the teacher advisory board. I know it was a lot of conversation around wit and wisdom, but is that a forum that can address some of the concerns that are in our public comment about making sure that teachers are included?
So our teacher advisory board does include representation from every school. There are topics that are brought to them around some decision-making from various divisions, but then they also are able to bring forth topics that they want to discuss or that they want to bring up for consideration by the district office. So I think that that is a space for teachers to have input in decision-making for district-wide decisions. Then, of course, individual schools have their own processes to get teacher involvement in their school-based level decisions.
So just to make sure that I'm tracking right, it sounds like the forum would exist even if this policy did not exist.
As long as the teacher advisory
A
board
board
still
exists.
existed.
Okay, thank you.
yeah. Yeah, I think this is an interesting one because it does kind of seem like, well, isn't the district already doing this? But maybe some constituents in the district feel like it's not strong, like this isn't enforced enough. So for those who feel like this isn't enforced enough, perhaps this is a policy that does need to be in place. Perhaps it is important to have something that says, well, let's refer back to policy GAC where staff involvement is important. So I don't know, that's kind of where I would fall on that fence, but we can vote
So-
and see how it lands.
Are we only talking about teachers? Or, I mean, staff?
All staff,
It's all staff, right?
correct,
And whether it's classified or not.
right.
And it's embedded in their job descriptions and in the work that they do. So I'm not sure why this does anything, but okay.
Dr. Gant.
I think, yeah, it is rather, it seems aspirational, like this is what we want to have. But I do think, given not just that one public comment, but like occasionally how we have, times where, whether it is our drivers or our custodial staff or many of our other classified work, I think it gives us something to anchor maybe our questions to, and maybe even some of our, I don't know, I mean, I know we're not in operations, but like when we really want to, get feedback, it sort of gives the district and the board something to anchor to if other boards are created, or if what do you call them, like focus groups are created, so.
Yeah. And I keep going back to what happens if the composition of this board changes and the sentiments of the power of a board changes. And if 1996, I'm not a historian, but, I mean, we've seen a disintegration in the L word, lobbies. And we've seen a disintegration in labor parties, and we've seen a disintegration in unions, and we've seen a disintegration. So maybe this was sort of a response to the power, if you will, that in a state where unions are a four-letter word, you can sort of promise in a way that you'll be involved in decision-making. I don't know. Anyway, all right, we're waxing poetic.
Can I
We'll
just
move
make
on.
one last comment? Sorry. I was just going to say, I was on the board when the July 2020 policy passed, and I remember that being a time when the teachers were not being listened to very much, and the staff was not being listened to very much. And I remember thinking this was a good establishment, because it's not always, it's not just the board, it's the superintendent sometimes who's not listening. So I think it's a good policy to have on the books, even though it does seem a little bit aspirational.
Thank you all. I think we are ready to move on to GCB, and I'm not hearing any recommendations for edits, so it will come back. Wait, this is a second read, so we're going to add it to the regular board meeting for a vote. Yeah, policy GAC. We're good? Okay. All right, GCB, classified person, GBK, policy on professional personnel suspension, and this is again a second read. So barring any comments for recommended changes, we will move this forward to the regular board meeting. Okay. GCB, classified personnel positions, again, second read. Any thoughts, comments? All right, so we will move that forward to the board meeting for a vote. All right, second read on employee leaves and absences. And does this have anything to do with what we talked about with the sick leave bank? I'm sorry, yeah, if you could, yeah.
I think so. I think, because at some point, didn't we get communication that we had to come back in here and change some of the language for this particular policy?
Yeah, it moved from one policy to another, and then it added some language about donors, and then I think that was it for this particular discussion, and you weren't here for the first read, so including the conversation about the sick leave bank just did not happen.
Yeah.
But
And I think that sick leave bank conversation happened like when we made changes the time before. Yeah.
So I guess my question is this something that from a legislative perspective we need to approve today, or can we wait until after our October retreat? Can somebody from the district respond?
Yeah, they've written that we have to provide the living and organ donor leave. So that is in place now, that we have to provide that.
Okay, but do we have to do it by October?
I think if people have to take that leave, then we need to approve that we provide those days to them.
Oh, I see, okay. Well, I guess what we can do, so just as a heads up to HR, I think what we may do then is go ahead and move it forward for a vote for tonight's meeting, but we are going to include this as an agenda item for our retreat to talk about the sick leave bank. And just to refresh your memory, because I don't know if you were chief at that point, but there was a lot of conversation about the amount of time that somebody has to commit to doing a sick leave bank. So maybe do some homework around that, and we can have a robust conversation.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Anderson, do you want these added to the consent agenda for the board meeting?
Yes, because then we'll have to decide on the consent agenda later down the road, like later down in the, yes. Okay, all right, so then that means we'll have to refresh our work session agenda shortly. Okay, so policy GBRH, that's professional personnel, wait, no. Oh, yeah, okay, so second read for GBRH, very much the same as GARH, and that's to rescind it, so we're good? Okay. GBC, professional personnel recruitment. Thoughts? Okay. All right, consent. Move it to the agenda. Policy GAMA, drug-free workplace. Okay. GBM, professional personnel transfer. Just trying to do it like my iPad. No? Okay. GAL, salary deductions. All right. GAEB, sexual harassment of employees. All right. GAAA, equal opportunity employment. Okay. JCAC, sexual harassment of students. Don't do that. Dr. Gant?
I'm sorry, I was lagging behind. I was trying to think up my notes for the drug-free workplace, and I have them somewhere, but I think it may have been the first read last.
Yes,
And
yes. You
I don't-
submitted questions in the questions document, but you weren't at the meeting.
Yes, okay, and you know what, never mind, because I haven't even gone back to see what the answers were. So I'll I'll do that during the break. I just couldn't remember if I actually submitted them or.
Yes, you did. I
Okay.
remember, yeah. And what we can do, if you don't have time to review them for the regular meeting, we can consider moving it to, or the board can decide if we want to move it to our next meeting. But I think Dr. Gant's questions were surrounding like the time between when a person is charged and they're on probation, and then they can come back to the district. If I remember right, there were some questions surrounding that. So yeah, if you don't mind reviewing those and then, okay. Okay, and now we are at JAA, Equal Educational Opportunities. Okay, and we're at the end. So any future policies for review? We already have the leave policy on the books for our retreat. Are there any others that people would like to discuss? Yes, Dr. Gann.
I have just a quick question, and pardon me because this may have been discussed at the last meeting. When we discussed a policy at one of our retreats that had to do with questioning students. Did we ever approve, like, did it ever come, I can't remember, did it ever come back before us, or? Okay. Do you remember what, like, it was some conversation, but I can't even remember. It was something about.
I do.
Yeah, it was about the language of whether a student could or could not be interrogated before. Okay.
It was around that word.
And I think we did end up passing that policy.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, I think
Oh.
we did pass that policy, and I think the language, ooh, Mr. Pruitt, my memory is not great here. Was that language changed at all?
Mine's worse, I'm sorry.
Okay, gosh, Dr. Gant, I'm sorry. I think that language wasn't changed per the recommendation of our school resource officers. Our chief, I don't remember.
I just can't remember which policy, and I guess I could go back and look. We had like a policy packet, and I can't remember the name of the policy. I remember Dr. Hooker saying that he was going to check with the chief and then bring it back.
Yes, and he
but I just-
came and he talked about not recommending the changes because procedurally it would cause a lot of complications and just like, for example, in like high emergency situations, waiting for someone to come and approve an interrogation is just not something that they would recommend. That's what I remember from the conversation, and I believe that the policy was approved at that meeting. Ms. Bagby?
It's about the policy where the police officers can investigate, interrogate, and have a child sign a confession without the parent being there.
It's policy JCAB.
Mr. Evans, can you look up that policy and see where we stand on it, JCAB?
I think.
Thank you, Ms. Bagby, that's super helpful.
It's still showing a 2021 review date.
Oh, okay, so it has not come back for,
thought
boy,
we
our
did that.
memories are
I thought
not
we did
great.
it.
I will attribute this to age. So why don't we do this in the interest of time? It's 6:34. Let's just go ahead and, let's add it for future policy discussion.
Yeah, and it was, I was just curious where it landed in case I had missed it. So it's not necessarily that
Yeah.
we need it right now, but at some point, I think it would be good to revisit.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gant, for staying consistent with the, with all the things that we discuss. Okay, now we are at item 5, barring any other future policy. Okay. Item 5 for consent agenda. Dr. Moore, have you had a chance to add all the policies?
I have E through R on consent with the exception of L, which was pulled for discussion during the board meeting.
Okay,
Is that correct?
okay. So E through R is on the consent agenda. And then what happened to A, B, C, and D? Oh, those are first reads. So E through R is on the consent agenda with the exception of L.
I'm sorry, not L, Q.
Okay, with the
Sorry.
exception of Q. Okay. No, I think it was L. I think it was drug-free workplace. Because Dr. Gant had some questions that she wanted to review.
Yes, ma'am, it was L.
Okay,
We
I'm
were-
sorry, I had, yeah.
We were
Okay.
going to consider to maybe table that till the next meeting, so that way Dr. Gant's questions could be answered.
Okay. So we've got first reads for A through D, so we're good on that. And then E through R, with the exception of L, will go on the consent agenda. Would anyone like any of those policies pulled from the consent agenda?
Ms. Davis?
F? Okay. So policy F, GAC. And then we currently have GAMA. Any others? All right. With our assembly person missing, we're kind of, we're freewheeling it here, so thank you for your, for your flexibility. Okay, so the other items on the consent agenda, and I'll just name them, and please raise your hand if you want them pulled. A one-time supplemental grant application to promote nutrition services and healthy eating or enrolled early, oh my goodness, for enrolled early Head Start and Head Start children, pregnant women, and families. Okay. B, SRO Memoranda of Understanding Amendment. So this MOU was already approved, so this is an amendment to the MOU based on some policy recommendations. Based on law. Thank you, on the law. Okay, we're good? Okay, and then field trips. Who does not consent to field trips? Okay, great. So we've got everything on the consent agenda. We've got a couple of policy items pulled. Now we are at 6, personnel. And we can go into executive session to discuss personnel, but we're already going into executive session, so we can, do we need to discuss personnel? Can anybody let me know so we can add that to our? No? Okay. All right, so we're going to move to item 7, executive session, and this is to discuss property for lease, sale, or rent. And I'm sorry, I can't find the legal language, Mr. Pruitt.
That's okay. It's basically go into executive session to discuss the purchase, disposal, or lease of real estate.
Thank you. The purchase, disposal, or or lease of real estate. All right, I don't think we need a vote, so all right, we're in recess.
No, you need a vote.
Yes, we do. All right.
We move to executive session.
All right, motion made by Dr. Yeager, seconded by Ms. Hull, and all in favor of executive session, raise your hand high, say aye. Aye. Okay, that motion passes. We will see you all at 7 o'clock. Thank you. All right, welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience. We really appreciate you waiting while we convened and ended our executive session conversations. So we are ready to begin our September board meeting, and we will start by doing roll call. Superintendent Scott.
Heidi Hensley. Mary P. Bagby. Linda Davis. Here. Dr. Patricia Yeager.
Here.
Tim Denson.
Here.
Dr. Mumby Anderson.
Here.
Dr. Lakeisha Gant.
Here.
Nicole Hull.
Here.
Mark Evans.
All right, we've got a quorum, so we will move forward with our agenda as presented. And our first item or our third, is the silent meditation and Pledge of Allegiance. We'll start with the silent meditation, and the flag for you all is to the front of the stage and your left. Okay, and we will now stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and I forgot to say those who cannot or do not wish to stand are welcome to. All right, and now we will move forward with our favorite agenda item, our awards and recognitions. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Good evening, Dr. Scott, Dr. Anderson, board members. We have a couple of exciting staff recognitions tonight, so we'll get started first with our Employee of the Month for September. Our Employee of the Month for September is Miss Sally Smith, custodian at Johnny Lay Burks Elementary School. I'd like to introduce you to Miss Smith as she makes her way to the stage. Miss Smith? Ms. Smith is in her 7th year with CCSD after retiring from Baldor Electric Company here in Athens, where she worked for more than 30 years. She is in her 3rd year now at Burks, and it was very clear to us when we visited the other day to surprise her how adored she is within the school. If you all have not caught the video, first of all, she was very surprised. Very. She looked at me and said, very. And then the students we were in the cafeteria, and there were about 4 or 5 classes, and they just spontaneously began to chant, Miss Sally, Miss Sally, and that went on for 2 or 3 minutes. So catch that video. It will warm your heart and make you feel really proud of our students and of Miss Sally. Miss Smith was nominated by school nurse Natalie Keetle, who wrote that Miss Smith provides a welcoming environment for students, staff, and families that extends beyond just keeping the building neat and clean. Nurse Keetle writes, Miss Sally loves these children. Not only is she hardworking with work that is never ending, she notices the children and meets their needs, whether it's giving hugs for emotional support, spending her hard-earned money to buy a need for a student, or coming up with great ideas to take extra food and turn it into snacks or extra items for the children. She is a hidden gem who should be cherished and made to feel amazing because she is changing lives each day she steps into the building. Are you going to cry? I know, I'm sorry. Burke's principal Matt Snow adds, for the past 3 years, Miss Sally Smith has exemplified what it means to be a Burke's tree frog. She continually goes above and beyond for our school, working tirelessly to ensure our building is clean, safe, and welcoming. Ms. Smith also has a special way of connecting with students, whether through a kind word in the hallway, a smile that brightens their day, or simply taking the time to show them she cares. Her dedication, kindness, and positive spirit make her an irreplaceable part of our school community. We are deeply grateful for all she does to create a space where students and staff can thrive. Please join us in congratulating our Employee of the Month, Sally Smith. I'm going to invite Miss Sally's colleagues up for some pictures. Mr. Jimmy, you want to come on up? No, you don't want to? We'll get a couple pictures, and then I'm going to ask the board to come around and have their picture taken with Miss Sally, too. And while we're doing all that, we want to thank, it's heavy, isn't it? It is packed full of surprises. It's going to take, I know, watch him. Don't let him take that home. We want to thank the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce and local businesses for once again supporting our Employee of the Month program. Stay right there and we'll get a picture with the board too. For contributing to our winner's bag, which as you've heard is stuffed full. And we also want to thank the members of the CCSD community. Come on up so we can see you. Ms. Gant, Ms. Bagby, Dr. Gant, Ms. Bagby, move on up. Yeah, right there. There you go. All the members of the CCSD, do you want to go up? You go on up, honey. It's okay. There we go. Perfect. I knew we were missing something. Let me see your smile. Love it. We also want to thank all the members of the CCSD community who have submitted so many wonderful nominations. This decision gets increasingly difficult. I think we got it really right this time. Thank you, Miss Sally, and thank you all. You can come to it. As a reminder, now, yeah, watch those steps there. What a gentleman. Thank you very much. Congratulations. As a reminder, any member of our community may nominate any full-time CCSD employee with at least 1 year of service for this award. You can go on the link on the screen. It's pretty easy, bit.ly/CCE Employee Award. Not easy to say, but it's easy to put in. And nominate somebody. Nominations for October start today, so don't wait. Next, we're pleased to be joined by Executive Director Catherine Neese, as well as representatives from her board for the Foundation for Excellence in Public Education in Clark County to recognize more than a dozen of our teachers and staff members who were named the winners of the organization's 2025 Teaching and Staff Awards. As you all may remember, FFE is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to recognize and award excellence in the Clark County School District through various awards and classroom grants each year. FFE is also a sponsor for our Teacher of the Year and Support Professional of the Year each year. This year, the FFE received over 300 nominations in what Ms. Neese said was the most competitive year yet, and selected 15 winners from that field. As I call each winner's name, I'll ask you to come to the stage for a photo. Once we've announced all the winners, I'll ask the entire group to come forward for a group photo with our board members and FFE representatives. The winners of the Frida M. Thomas Teacher of Promise Award are Rodrigo Valadez, 7th grade math teacher, Hillsman Middle School, and Astrid Charlton, science teacher, Cedar Shoals High School. If you're here, please come on up. It's right in the middle there. Got it? Thank you. We'll ask you to step over there. The winners of the Downs Family District Services Award, Maurice Williams, School Resource Officer, Clark Central High School, and DeMarcus Appling, Bus Driver for CCSD Transportation. If you're here, please come up now. I could get you, Officer Williams, just to come back to the middle. Let's get one picture separately first. Thank you. Stand over there. The winner of the Howard B. Stroud Community Service Award is Chantel Eaton, school social worker, Barrow Elementary School and Clark Middle School. If you're here, please come forward. The winner of the Michael Peter Horvat Secondary Coaches Award, Denidra Barnett, 6th grade social studies teacher and athletics coach at Bernie Harris Lyons Middle School. The winner of the Joan D. Humphreys Teacher of Excellence Award is Sarah Clark, gifted teacher, Barrow Elementary School. The winner of the Ken Sherman Double Century Teacher of Excellence Award is Karen Richburg, special education teacher, Cedar Shoals High School. The winner of the Seasoned Teacher Award, Renita Elder, social studies teacher, Athens Community Career Academy. If you'll come up, just let us get up your picture. I know you were making time. That was the winner of the Catherine H. Hugg Instructional Leadership Award, Gina Wheeler, instructional coach, Oglethorpe Avenue Elementary School. The winner of the Martha Comer Chair for Teachers of Languages Award is Susan Lane, ESOL teacher, Cedar Shoals High School. The winner of the Carty Kilpatrick Chair for Middle School Teachers Award is Audrey Hughes, 7th grade science teacher, Clark Middle School. The winner of the Ann M. Schendel Chair for Teachers of Mathematics Award is Connor Naughton, 8th grade math teacher, Hillsman Middle School. And the winner of the Thomas H. Whitehead Chair for Teachers of Science Award, Anya Granados, science teacher, Clark Central High School. Thank you. That is quite possibly the best lineup I've ever seen done. So I'm going to ask you just to move it forward and over to the right a little bit and come on up so we can get ready for a group picture. Squeeze together just a little. FFE board members, if you will join them. And look this way, and then we'll have our board come on up. Let's get one picture here. Come on up. Yeah, you're good. Can you see everybody? Show your flowers. Now, I will add a little editorial comment. It should be no surprise. You all have heard these names many times before in our district. There's a reason they were selected. This is a great, great group, and thank you for all you do to represent us so well. All right, we can't see you, Dr. Gant. Don't be shy. You'll thank us one day. You'll say, I thought I looked so old then, but I was so young. Thank you all for all you do every day, and we look forward to celebrating you throughout the year. And thank you to FFE. If you'll join me again in giving these winners another round of applause. And at this time, as you all make your way back to your seats, I'd like to invite Ms. Neese to come and just say a few words to us. Catherine?
Thank you, Dr. Moore, Dr. Scott, and board. Thank you so much for having us today to recognize our winners. As you can see, they are a phenomenal bunch of educators and staff members in Clark County School District, and I think that the students of the school district are very lucky to have them in their lives. On behalf of the other trustees of the Foundation for Excellence, I'm here with our board president, Sam Preston, Devlin Davis, Beth Tatum, and Susan Carden. We'd like to say thank you for your time, for allowing us to do this, and we hope that in a couple of days you will receive our invitation to our recognition banquet to honor these winners that will be on October 29th. So thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Moore.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Dr. Scott, that concludes our recognitions. I'll now turn it over to Dr. Anderson and the board for any recognitions you may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and congratulations, everyone, our Teacher of the Year, our FFE winners. This is truly like the joy of all of our regular board meetings, is to get to recognize, see you all, and thank you all for your service. So another round of applause. Thank you so much. And Ms. Neese, I know you remember me, so yeah, kudos to FFE and all that you do. All right, if there are no more, okay, so do any board members have any recognitions that they would like to bring forth to the public? Okay, all right, so we will now move forward with item 5. Well, we do not have public comment tonight, so we will, yeah, we're good for that. So now we're at item 6, to amend or adopt the agenda as presented. Please look through the consent agenda to make sure it reflects the discussion that we had today, and then we will go ahead and call for a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion for us to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Second. All right. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Denson, second by Ms. Davis, I think it was, to approve the agenda. All in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. And now we are at item 7, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President. So today, we do want to remember those who lost their lives on September 11, 2001, and pay tribute to those who keep us safe from harm in a post-9/11 world. So it is my hope that on this day, we will recommit to compassion, unity, and to peace. I started my day this morning enjoying some time with our Girl Scouts at the Girl Scouts Promise to Keep breakfast for Girl Scouts of Historic Georgia, at which one of our very own CCSD students, Bryony Brown, a 9th grader at Clark Central, served as the MC. It was a great way to start my day, and I do want to say thank you to Bryony for representing CCSD so well. We have been very busy since our August meeting. We did hold our annual LSGT University on August 21st, and we welcomed over 100 LSGT members to set our purpose for the year through training and updates. At the conclusion of the whole group meeting, school teams were able to meet to review and approve their school improvement plans for the 2025-2026 school year. We do have a few LSGTs that are still seeking community members, so if you are interested in serving in that capacity, then please reach out to your neighborhood school to share your interest with them. September is school attendance month for students, and we know that when you miss school, you miss out, and when you miss school, we miss you. But we know that our August staff, during the month of August, our staff certainly set the stage and served as an example to the importance of attendance, as our entire district saw a drastic decrease in the number of employee absences compared to last year. In the month of August, we had 3,803 absences. This year, we only had 2,715, which is a decrease of 1,088 days. So for school-based employees who require an absences, we also saw 1,488 fewer substitutes needed due to absences. So at this point in the school year, we have over 1,400 employees that do have perfect attendance. And thank you to our Human Resource Department, who has provided certificates for all of our staff members who did achieve perfect attendance in the month of August. And talking with our principals on yesterday, it is truly a treat for our staff to be recognized in that way. And hearing from our TAB members at the TAB meeting that was held on Monday, they had their first meeting of the year on Monday, and they too just expressed that there is just a great energy and that they are certainly appreciative for the recognition of the Perfect Attendance Awards for staff members. We are excited to welcome our classified staff next week. They will hold their first advisory board meeting on September 16th. Our Family Advisory Board will hold its first meeting on September 17th. And my favorite advisory board, the Superintendent Student Advisory Board, will convene and hold its first meeting on September 23rd. No offense to all of the adult advisory boards. So we also want to say congratulations to all of those FFE recipients who were awarded earlier this year, but who we honored this evening. And we want to also say congratulations to Ms. Sally Smith, our September Employee of the Month. Finally, I do want to say congratulations to all of our Teachers of the Year and our Support Persons of the Year. We will be recognizing each of them, as well as announce our district winner at the banquet, which will be held in their honor on October 23rd. And we look forward to welcoming our board members to join us for that. If you have not seen many of the announcements on social media, make sure you check that out. Our schools are doing an amazing job of truly celebrating and recognizing our Teachers of the Year and our Support Professionals of the Year. So with that, that is my report for this month.
Thank you, Superintendent Scott. Oh, such amazing stuff happening in the district. Okay, we are now at presentations and discussions, and I don't think that there's anything in that item, so we're good there. So we'll move to item 9, our facilities updates. Mr. Gilbreth, are you the one that's going to do the? Awesome. So we'll start with A, our SPLOST monthly report.
All right, good evening, board members. We're going to do a update by photos again. We seem to enjoy that. I think that gives you more progress than numbers and charts. So Clark Middle, glad to say the solar panels are connected and operational. We're waiting for Georgia Power to give us the okay, and then we're generating power. But this is the dashboard that is present in the school. You can actually log on to the website, and it gives you the information of the amount of power being generated, tells you the weather, different things like that. So we're going to be tracking that and monitoring that and give us some valuable data. Next photo, these are the inverters that are outside. So if you're familiar with solar power, you've got to convert, the solar energy to, regular current. This does that for us. And this is just the panels out front near the cafeteria area kitchen. And the next slide is another shot of the other panels on the campus. These panels are unique is that they have motors and they articulate to the sun. So we're kind of maximizing the amount of power that we get versus, say, a fixed array that would reduce your power potentially by 50%. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to capture as much as we can and offset some of that real-time pricing where we're paying not 9 cents a kilowatt hour, but we're paying $2.50 a kilowatt hour when they're running the air conditioners in the middle of the day. So that's the goal. We're going to monitor it. We'll give you, monthly reports on that and kind of, once we get the sustainability person on board, integrate them with that as well. Next is Cedar Shoals. So we've got some shots of the interior finishes. This is the front new redesigned front lobby. We're still waiting on some storefront metal doors to come in, but this is the check-in area. We've separated visitors and students. That was one of the security concerns of the school, so we accommodated that by redesigning the front lobby with a main center window and wall there system, but again, we've got some additional doors to put in at that point. This is kind of an overhead 360 view of the media center. You can see the new check-in desk, the workstations, and also the new projection screen. This is the maker space, which is off of the media center. We installed a storefront window system, which kind of separates so that they can actually teach 2 classes in the media center, and the noise isn't disturbing the other classes. Renovated auditorium, seats are in, carpets in. I think they were tweaking the projector here on this picture, but stage curtains are in, and sound system is up and operational, so they're able to use that space as well. This is the renovated girls softball field. So we got new dirt, we got improved sod, improved irrigation, new foul poles, so pretty much a total kind of upgrade for that facility. The plant services and general fund did the new LED lighting, that's operational as well. Here you've got the baseball press box concession stand being constructed. You can see the field. We've still got some paving to do in this area. This is kind of the last heavy construction part of where we're working at Cedar right now. And this is just a shot of the baseball field, and again, a shot of the new concession stand press box. This is the football stadium. We recoated the stairs and bleachers, and the 2 entry stairs coming up at the stadium have been replaced as well. And this just kind of shows you the asphalt paving. We repaved the entire campus. So there's new paving, new striping throughout the campus. And I think the next couple shots will show you that. Student parking area, staff parking area, and then I think there's, I believe, a final aerial of the whole site. Gaines, contractor has mobilized. They've actually broke ground, started doing some of the initial erosion control, setting up temporary fencing around the playground. Daily we're talking to the principal and staff, making sure we're keeping students and staff safe and enable the work to get done. This just shows you kind of the fencing around the playground, and we're going to be doing additions on the A, B, and C wing. And I think the next photo shows you the area for the larger addition, which is adjacent to the gym. And this also shows you the 2 temporary modular units that we have outside. And here's a shot where we're going to be incorporating a little parking area at the Hillsman Health Center as well. Right now they're on a gravel pad, so we're going to incorporate about 15 spaces there for their parking as well. This just shows you loading dock's going to be expanded. And also the dry storage area. I think the next shot is we're going to extend the bus rider canopy, and then the last one is we're also going to do professional development as well. So we're pretty much going to be touching all sides of Gaines Elementary. And I think so. Here we have, this is the warehouse. The last thing, building's dried in, electrical's done. We're hoping to get the HVAC completed in the next week or 2. And I think we have a shot of the new paving that was done, upgraded paving. We're going to be doing seal coat this weekend, and you can see the expanded parking to the left there. So now when custodial and nutrition have their staff meetings, we're not parking in the street and on the grass and scrambling for spots. And that's just the actual footprint. There's the warehouse expansion as well. Any questions?
Regain school, you knew where I was going. So I heard you say something about you all had prepped for erosion control and put safety fences around the playground area. What are we exploring to make that playground more equitable in terms of, we've talked about no grass and stuff, so what solutions are you all exploring?
We have additional playground structures that we'll be putting in. We're looking to see if we can expand the turf area a little bit. I know we have some drainage issues we have to deal with first, but we're also going to put, where the large 12 modular unit, we're going to put a soccer field in. So there'll be a natural grass soccer field with irrigation that'll be back there to kind of give them more space, because right now they're on a small defined area and they just the grass won't survive. So if we give them that extra soccer field, we have a chance to kind of juggle students between the two fields, so there's not so much pressure on that one field. So we'll get with the staff and talk about specific structures, because I think we were looking at a 4th and 5th grade structure that was more age appropriate. We'll be adding that as well.
And you'll make sure that is disability friendly?
Yes, and we actually have, I think we've got one playground for disability, for adaptive ed folks, as well as 4th and 5th grade age appropriate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions from? I just had one quick one in light of the recent events and the events that just continue to happen in all of our schools around the country. So I'm looking at these modular units for gains, and they look like they're slightly compromised. And I know we increased our SRO presence in our elementary schools, which, oh my gosh, thank goodness that we did that. But are there other levels of protection surrounding the students that are in the outer buildings?
The exterior doors are locked. We have A-phones at both of the entrances, so that if anybody's coming or going to get into the facility, you actually got to be buzzed in to get let into the facility.
Okay.
I'll have to get with Principal Nobles as far as how she's staffing those. I know sometimes there may be a person who sits in the center hallway. I know that at Cedar we did that. I believe Clark Middle we had that as well. So I'll check with her and see what we have in place.
Okay. But it's good to know there's one entrance and it's locked and
Yeah,
they
the
all
students,
kind of,
the rear entrance, the rear doors are emergency exit only. They have alarms on them. So if somebody goes out, you'll hear it and you'll know it. But everybody comes out the front of those units.
Okay. Are there other questions from other members? Okay, thank you so much for that. And I think you're going to stay up here for the Community Oversight Committee report.
Well, we have an update on transportation. We have a couple of slides
Oh.
on electric buses. So I wanted
Oh,
to give
yeah.
you an update on
Okay.
those.
Yes, thank you.
They're both operational. I think you may see on this report, when we did it a week or two ago, I think we had one that was down. But so we were asked by the COC for just kind of an update on our inventory, and this is a count of what we have as far as buses, the type of buses and the age of buses. And I believe we try to, at year 15, we look at trying to cycle those out of the inventory so that we have younger, more reliable buses that are running our staff around. And you'll note that we do 128 routes. We've got 142 drivers, which is great. And we've got approximately 152 buses. So we do have a little bit of spare capacity there. So as far as electric buses, so this is kind of a summary timeline of what we did when we received the buses and how much has been spent. Roughly $758,000 for the 2 buses. EV charger installation was another $47,000, and did training with the staff, and then August 6th is when the buses went into operation. So as you know, anytime you get something new and new technology, you have a break-in period, so we'll call it that. So we've had a couple of issues. We've dealt with them. They've been addressed. We had a warranty recall. Those were checked out. Everything was okay. You can see we had PA or a mirror system, things like that. So we're kind of working through the bugs. And then, so here's just kind of a summary of the data. The buses can, at a full charge, can travel 100 miles. I think Mr. Gurley has them scheduled so that they're on those particular routes of that length or duration or a little bit less. Right now, just to be safe, we're charging them in the middle of the day when they come back. That way they got a full charge, and we're not really testing the capacity of the batteries. We're just trying to, again, kind of get adjusted to them and see how they function and how they work. Obviously, when you use the air conditioner and things like that, it's going to it's going to use the charge faster than if you didn't use the air conditioning. And the other thing too is when it gets cold, there's the potential of less mileage from the cold weather, things like that. So those are things that we're going to kind of watch and monitor as we go along. And then here we have, again, this is just about the miles that the buses have run. Next slide. So we had just some feedback from the drivers. It's a good ride, smooth on the road, handles well. But obviously, you have a pessimist, we'll see what happens in winter. So you've kind of got to kind of take the good with the bad and kind of see what comes along. And right now, we've just had less than a month on charging. So we'll kind of track that cost as well to see, okay, over a year, over a month, what does it cost to charge the buses versus, say, a diesel, gas, or propane? And then we'll do a spreadsheet and a comparison to give you guys some data, so making decisions going forward, we can do that.
Thank you. You read my mind. It's like, what's the data on the cost of this? Okay.
And then just one other thing, I don't have any slides, but just as far as plant services and work orders, in the last 30 days, they had over 1,400 work orders. They completed about 1,200 of those, but we still have a backlog of about 500. So we're working through some processes. We're working through all the departments, because not only does plant services get work orders, custodial generates them, as well as security and nutrition. So we've got to make sure that those folks are updating their work orders, because it all reports on FlowPath. So if you don't dig down and really look at it, you may think, oh my goodness, look at all outstanding. And it could be that, it's from other departments and things like that. But we know that we've got a lot of work in front of us, and we're look forward to getting it done.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Before we move on to COC, okay?
It's just a quick question. Do you know how many miles on average a bus route goes? I see that a full bus can travel 100 miles. Is that within what we would want the bus to be able to handle in a typical route?
I'll let Mr. Gilbert.
Normally, what we saw last year was that an average route of all the buses was around 90 to 95 miles when you average them all out, but it fluctuates. You've got some that I think were only 20 or 25 miles, and then you had one that might be 125, 130 miles a day. I think that was the highest I saw. So it fluctuates, and a lot of it has to do if it's a middle school, a high school route, which can get very long versus an elementary.
Thank you.
Dr. Yeager.
So thanks for that report. It's really exciting. $48 a day to charge each bus. How much does it cost to put gasoline in the diesel or the gasoline buses? Seems like you'd burn through that pretty quick.
Yeah, so utilizing the last load we had dropped in the tanks, to fill a diesel was $271. To fill a gas was $245. And to fill a propane was $163. But of course, they have different range. A propane might go 400 miles on a full tank. A gas would probably run 600, and a diesel probably is going to get you 700 miles.
So it looks like some math would need to be involved to see.
It's going to be a quiz. We're going to give you a quiz. We're going to give you all the variables, let you guys, figure it out, and we'll see who gets it right. We'll put that together for you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, and we're a month in, so we're expecting that this conversation will continue down the road.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Any other questions before we move on to community oversight? Okay, COC?
Yeah, COC, we met this week. Ms. Davis was there, and we kind of ran through the gamut. What I present to you guys in, say, 15 minutes, they get me for an hour and a half. So we try to go into a lot more detail and things like that. I really don't have anything much to add. I don't know, Ms. Davis, if you had anything you wanted me to address, or?
No, I was really excited about the performance, or actually the cost of the EV buses compared to the diesels. I thought that was, for me, one of the most profound things that came out of that meeting. But just the support and encouragement of this team of people that are really looking at how the SPLOST dollars are spent is very ingratiating to know that we have people in the community that care enough to participate in things like that. And they bring their expertise to the table. So I totally enjoy that. I like to get deep in the weeds, and so I get my feel at the COC for the most part. So it's all good. And wait a minute, I can't wipe that smile off Mr. Gilbert's face. He has been the happiest guy. We've had some good things happen.
It's not raining, so I'm happy about that. And I haven't got a video showing water pouring in the building at 10:30, so I'm very thankful.
Yeah, and we didn't get as much of the HVAC concerns in the beginning of the school year. There was very little of that,
Well,
so.
Unfortunately, you bring that up.
Oh, no.
As with anything, we had issues with train manufacturing, so we went to Carrier.
Yeah.
So now carriers come out and said, oh, by the way, this certain model in these units, the motor, when it's 95, 98 degrees and it's running all day in the afternoon, has a potential to burn up. We're like, so they have a fix. We're implementing that fix. The hope is that we're past the really hot days, dog days of summer. So over the fall, winter, we'll get everything taken care of. And, you know, like I said, you try to go with, you know, a different one and then something else happens. So I kind of like they don't build them like they used to anymore.
Yeah, that is very true. I regret that I said anything, so apologies for that. Okay, is that it for COC? Does anyone have any questions for?
I think I would like to say that certainly there are some opportunities for service on that committee, and I think that has been made known, and it's on our website as well, that community members are encouraged.
Okay. And we have reached a new school year, but I would love to wait until January when the president discussion and formal vote has been had to talk about the composition of board member participation in the different board meetings, if that's in the different, you know, stakeholder meetings, if that's okay. So if everyone is still okay serving in their capacities up until January, is that all right? Okay. Okay. All right, fantastic. If people do want to roll out and want to get somebody else a chance, just email me and we can put some feelers out. All right, so now we are at, oh, thank you so much, Mr. Gilbreth. Okay, now we are at 10 informational items. Let's start with Early Head Start Policy Council meeting minutes and reports. Mr. Denson?
Yeah, for the one for Early Head Start, the main thing was the piece that we, oh, wait. Sorry, never mind. Wrong thing.
Okay.
I'm bad.
Oh, okay. So nothing else to report other than what's on the...
No, just the one thing that we already, that was a part of the consent agenda, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic.
That's it.
Okay. Yeah, and that was from the June meeting, so. Okay, so then next up is the Athens Career Academy report. Mr. Evans?
Yes, so they had their second meeting of the year on Tuesday. A couple of events that the board and the public should be aware of. On September 23rd, there will be a blood drive that will support the HOSA, which is the club that the medical types do. And if they get a certain amount of people to come and donate, they'll get like money, like $1,000. Was it $500? $500. Yeah. And also, and if you go, you get some sort of like $30 thing. So I'm going. So if you want to see me pass out at 8:30 on Tuesday the 23rd, there you go. Also, that same week on the 25th, starting at 12:30, they're going to have the pop-up bistro. Now, Ms. Davis and I and Dr. Anderson, we went to the pop-up bistro during Fat Tuesday, and it was awesome. We had alligator. Oh yeah, and it was alligator that they actually carved themselves. Like they got like this gator, and they showed it at lunch, which wasn't very appetizing, but. It was still kind of cool to think that our kids know how to butcher stuff. So it was really, really interesting. And so so you've got to so go to their Career Academy website, go on there, and you have to sign up. It's $15. So one of the big things is that just like with all of our boards, they're looking for one person, but they're looking for someone who is in the restaurant business, primary culinary of some sort. So those of you at home who are watching on YouTube, the millions and millions of Athenians who are watching on YouTube, if you are interested, please volunteer because those kids really need it. Lots of good things happening. The robotics club has kicked off. They're looking to repeat. In fact, they're actually giving a presentation this Saturday to other robotics clubs throughout the state of Georgia, talking about what it's like to be the rookie all-stars of Georgia, the United States, and the world. So, yeah, so big props to Mr. Woodson and his crew over there. And that's my report, ma'am.
Thank you, thank you. That's very exciting. Yes, the vegans of the world were probably clutching their pearls at the alligator, but it was delicious, so I don't know. It tasted like chicken. I'm kidding. Okay, so next up is our consent agenda. And a reminder to the public, these are items that were discussed robustly at our work session, and so were decided to be placed on in bulk to vote on collectively. So we've got, should I name them all out? Would that help? Should I name
I
them all out?
move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Dr. Yeager, seconded by Ms. Hall. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we've got a consensus. That motion passes. And now we are at 12. Okay, thank you. Ms. Davis?
Yes, we had an item that I asked to remove from the consent agenda for a separate vote, item GAC, and I just caught that.
Uh-oh.
It is not on our list today.
Okay, we've already approved the agenda, so Mr. Pruitt, you're going to have to advise me on how we move forward to remove GAC from the consent agenda.
It's not on there,
Oh, it's not on.
and it's not here as a separate item.
Oh, so to add it, oh, okay, got it. So it's not on the consent agenda, but it's also not on the individual discussion. Okay. Do we need to vote to amend the agenda at this point?
Or at some point, right, if you want to add an item to the agenda, needs a motion second and a 2/3 vote.
Okay. So I guess, let's wait until after the financial report, since we'll be at the individual items to vote to make a motion. All right, so let's move on to item 12 first, for the financial reports for June and July. Okay. Mr. Greiner.
Yep, still on, sorry, always have to check. So, as typical, we have June and July. Since June is our year end, it typically takes us to this point in time of the year just for various accounting accruals to through the end of August. We're actually doing our full FY25 close tomorrow, so we'll be officially closed on FY25. Should have the audit, will start in October and should be done by December. So that is our goal. So June is of course a recap of our entire year. I do have one graph. I don't have pictures like Mr. Gilbert, so I apologize, but we do have one graph. So, I do have good news though. If you remember, we projected taking about $6.6 million out of fund balance. That was the budget we passed for FY25, where we actually ended up about $2 million better than we thought we would. So that's good news. We only ended up at about 4.6. So for the month of June, our revenues were $1.3 million higher and our expenditures were $1.8 million lower. Fund balance, 55.1 compared to what we budgeted at 53.1. So that's the $2 million difference there. So, I'm going to go ahead and move on to July, if that's all right. So July is our first month. It always looks a little weird because of some of the revenue accruals are actually in the prior year. So our actual revenues were about $15,000 higher. Expenditures $400,000 less. So we're already on a good track. We projected fund balance of 51.6 and we're at 52 million. We're starting to collect our tax revenues now. September is always kind of the beginning. October is when we'll get the bulk of our tax revenues. As y'all all know, tax bills are due October 20th, I'm sure. So our fund balance will have that really high peak October, November, December, and it'll start to go down at the beginning of the year. So I'll be happy to answer any questions y'all might have.
Thank you. Mr. Greiner, just wanted to say thanks for on these, on the balance sheets and on the graphs for changing and putting what our true district's reserve goal is so that it's a little more clear and transparent to the community. So thanks for doing that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Gibbs.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. I just have one quick question. So the actual reserve on the fund balance projection, it's at zero for the entire, like that blue line.
Oh, yeah. I gotta figure out what.
Is that a
like-
type, is that a,
That's a great point.
okay.
Oh, I know why. Because we only have 1 month, so it stays at 0 until it calculates.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a great question, though. So
Okay.
only July is showing right now, so in August, we'll have an additional blue line, so.
Okay.
It's the way the spreadsheet works, so it does look kind of weird. I'll look at that and see if there's a little bit better way to depict that. It's like, but no, that's a great point.
I was just like,
It's like it kind of flatlined there.
we got some
So,
DOE
yeah.
stuff going on, so I was like, is there something we don't know?
No. Unless there's something I don't know. Hey, we're in good shape.
All right, thank you so much. Barring any other questions, we will, all right, thank you so much, Mr.
All right.
Griner.
Thank y'all.
All right, so now we need a motion to.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to make a
Mr.
motion that we amend the agenda and add policy GAC to the business items for individual vote, please.
Second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Evans, seconded by Ms. Hull to amend our agenda. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Okay, that motion passes. So the agenda has been amended to include policy GAC for individual discussion. I do believe that we still need to make a motion to approve the financial reports, however, so the floor is open.
I move that we approve the financial reports for June and July.
Second.
All right, motion made by Ms. Hull and seconded by Dr. Yeager. All in favor of approving the July financial reports, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. All right, so now we are at item 13. GAC, I assume, will be item D. So let's start with the approval of the GSBA contract for the superintendent search. We'll open the floor for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the GSBA contract for superintendent search.
Second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Evans and seconded by Dr. Yeager. That opens the floor for a discussion. Mr. Evans, would you like to start?
I just think that, you know, they know us, we know them. I think that it's a good fit. It's a pretty nice price tag for a head hunting group, so, yeah.
Okay, Dr. Yeager?
Agreed. I'm very excited that we're going to go through this process. Thank you.
Okay, others? Dun, 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 dun.
I really like that we are going to use a company that we're very familiar with. We haven't chosen them in the last 6 times, so we're hoping that this is going to be the charm.
Oh, that's a phrase, 6 times the charm, right? Okay, there we go. Okay, so there are no additional questions. There's a motion on the floor and a second, so we'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor of approving the GSBA contract for the superintendent search, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ayes and 1 nay. All right. So now we are moving to B, and that's personnel. So we just need a motion.
I move that we accept the personnel report, approve the personnel report as presented.
Second.
All right. That motion is made by Ms. Davis, seconded by Ms. Hull. All in favor of approving the personnel report as presented, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. And now we are at 2 policies. The first is policy IFBG for the internet acceptable use. And this was a first read that was discussed in our work session. So I guess we are now at.
Ma'am,
There's a motion to suspend the rules because it needs to be approved. I remember now, thank
I
you.
move that we vote to suspend the rules to be able to approve this without sending out for public comment because of the nature of the deadline.
Second.
All right, that motion has been made by Dr. Yeager, seconded by Ms. Hall. We all understand what the motion is. Do we need to discuss? To suspend the rules, right. Okay. Okay, and then we can just, okay. All in favor of suspending the rules to send the policy out for public comment, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so we have one abstention. Would you like to explain your abstention or just let it lie on record? Okay, all right. You have every right to explain an abstention, that's why I'm asking. Okay, so that motion has been approved. So now we need a motion to do,
I'll make a motion to approve policy IFBG.
Second.
okay, that motion was made by Mr. Denson and seconded by Ms. Hull. Okay, so now we've got a motion on the floor to approve this policy. Any comments, questions? Mr. Denson, since you made the motion? Okay. The seconder, Ms. Hull?
Just to clarify for the public who might not have seen the work session, that, the reason that we're doing this is because we are required to by state legislation, so that's why we're suspending the rules and doing this way, so.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification for the public. Other thoughts, questions? Okay, so we've got a motion on the floor. All in favor of approving policy IFGB, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I think that motion passed unanimously. Did everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So now we are at policy GAC. Give me just 1 second to go back to our work session and find that policy. Okay. Got it. Staff involvement in decision-making, right. Okay. So yes, there was some discussion earlier about the need for this policy. Is that where we ended?
Yes.
Okay. So we need a motion to open the discussion.
I move that we approve GAC.
Second.
All right, motion made by Dr. Yeager, seconded by Ms. Hall, and this is to approve policy GAC. So now the floor is open. Dr. Yeager, would you like to start?
Just that I understand this is an aspirational policy, but I want to make sure it's on the books so that we affirm that we are interested in the inputs of our teachers and our staff and members of our community as well. But of course, this includes the staff, so I'm excited to have this on the books.
Okay, Ms. Hall?
I agree, it's aspirational. I don't support it because I don't feel like it's necessary. I don't think we need aspiration or policy, so I won't be supporting it.
Okay. Ms. Davis?
Yes, but thank you for articulating that so well. I think we have tried to take performative things out of our venue of policies because, again, it requires effort. We have to review them every 5 years. We don't know why they're there. This is a very clean example of where we know that our policies, our procedures, and how we do business absolutely includes the voice of all of our employees, whether they're certified or whether they are, what's the other thing?
Classified.
Classified, right? And so to me, this is one of those places where when you really don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And I don't want this to become a weapon. I don't want it to become something that gets misused. I think we should, if we want to be performative, let's be performative around recognizing the value that our staff has contributed to building where we are today.
Madam Chair, could I offer a substitute motion?
Sure.
I'd like to move that we remove GAC from the policy.
I second.
From a vote, you mean?
No, we take it
We
completely out.
rescind.
Where we
You want
rescind. I want to
to
rescind
make a
policy
substitute
GAC.
motion to rescind policy
ma'am.
GAC.
I
Okay.
second.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor now to, a substitute motion to remove policy GAC or rescind policy GAC that has been made by Mr. Davis, Mr. Evans, and seconded by Ms. Davis. So we're going to need to vote on that substitute motion before any further conversation can be had. So all in favor of rescinding policy GAC, staff involvement in decision-making, please raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4. Does that get us a majority? I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't do math that fast in my head. Okay, so that motion did not pass. So now we are back to our original motion, which was to vote to approve policy GAC, staff involvement in decision-making. Are there any other questions before we have a formal vote?
I have a comment.
Mr. Denson?
Thank you. And I don't think this is solely aspirational. As the last line that says is, for the policy of the Board of Education, that each school may establish appropriate shared decision-making committees, councils, or teams that empowers these schools to be able to do so. And of course, this is, I know we talked about the teacher advisory, but there's other people who work for these schools and work for us who are not teachers, who are not represented on that board. I also really don't see the harm in having, if we read it, I would assume that all of us agree with the language in this. And if we believe it's aspirational, yet we agree with the language, then the problem is that we're not doing enough to aspire to what these words say. Not that there's anything wrong with these words. There's something wrong with what we're doing with those words. Now, if there's those of us who disagree with the idea that the Board of Education believes that the education of our students is a responsibility that is shared by the school district staff, parents, and the community at large, and goes on to endorse and support efforts which lead to broadening the decision-making process, I agree with those things. If we agree with those things, then let's have this, and then let's try to actually enact this rather than getting rid of it. Honestly, I think that it could really backfire, and I think if we vote against this and rescind this, I think there's gonna be a lot of people who work for the school district tomorrow who are gonna be talking at their schools saying, did you know that they actually rescinded the policy that says that there should be staff involvement in decision-making?
So I'll point this to our attorney, because I know the answer, but I won't pose a hypothetical because you can educate me if I'm wrong. The way that I'm reading this policy, if a staff member disagrees with a superior or feels as if they were not sufficiently included, which is very subjective, then they would be able to convene a hearing before the board to be able to have a matter before the issue, because that would constitute an issue of educational law against our policy, and we would be inviting that policy to be weaponized when we have leadership, when we have advisory boards, and I feel like we trust our district leadership to have these conversations, and we trust our staff and employees to let us know when they're not happy. So this is most definitely a policy that can be weaponized, but I'll ask Mr. Pruitt, is it your understanding that this is something that could cause a controversy in how the language, I can't remember the statute, I don't know if it's in 1160, but there's the statute that says if there's a controversy of school law, go before the school.
Right, yeah, I just looked it up here, so it's determining any matter of local controversy in reference to the construction or administration of school law. Okay, that's what I was trying to remember. So I think there are either court cases or board decisions, probably state board decisions, saying that it has to be a matter of statute or, a matter of law, not just policy. So I'm sure you could find state board decisions saying the opposite, because I always find state board decisions saying two different things. So, yeah, your concern's well-founded.
Okay, so, sorry, Ms. Bagby.
Well, I think we should remove this for further discussion, because staff, we don't have a real definition of staff, and if staff is anybody that works for the school system, we need to have further discussion on this one before we vote on this policy. I think we need to
Okay.
remove it
There
for
was a
further
motion.
discussion.
Well, there was a motion to rescind it, and that was voted down. So if you'd like to make a substitute motion to pull this from the agenda for a vote tonight, you are well within your rights as a board member to do that. But that would be the protocol for removing this as an agenda item, is for you to make a substitute motion to remove it as an agenda item, and then the board members would have to vote on your substitute motion, if it gets a second.
Point of clarification.
Yes.
On the vote to rescind, we only asked for the yay votes, and there are 8 of us here. Is that correct?
There are one.
Yes. Patty's missing. So we did not find out if we had 4 nay votes or any abstentions. And so
I think we asked for
concerned.
yay.
No, we asked for yay.
We asked for yay.
Right, but we did not ask for nay, and we did not ask for abstentions.
Okay,
She's correct.
okay.
Rescind is to just take it off or
Destroy it.
It's to get the policy off of our policy manual. Rescind is to get rid of the policy altogether. Mr. Pruitt, should we re-vote since?
Well, actually, I think, so we went from taking the yays and then some more discussion. I think you could go into just doing the rest of that vote, asking for nays and
Okay.
abstentions.
Oh, that's a great, okay, I love that. Okay, so now what we can do is ask for, are there any nays to the substitute motion to rescind policy GAC, staff involvement in decision-making? Any nays in rescinding? Okay. Okay.
I don't want to, I want us to put it on, take it off for further discussion.
So that means that you voted twice.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's allowed. So I don't know what to do now.
That's okay. So
The
both
lawyer-
motions, so you had 4 yays, 4 nays, that motion failed.
That motion
Now you're
failed.
back, now the motion on the floor is to approve the policy.
Okay, all right, okay. So we're now back to our original motion because that motion did not pass anyway. So yes, Mrs. Bagme, to answer your question, if you want to make a substitute motion to remove this as a voting item tonight, that is, you are well within your rights as a board
Okay.
member to do so.
Well, I move that we should remove this from discussion tonight and use it later for further discussion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so another substitute motion has been made to remove policy GAC off of tonight's agenda, return it back to the district for further revisions and discussions with board members. And there has been a second. Are there any further discussions before we vote on the substitute motion?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
And, in the discussion that I heard earlier, I heard about a committee, I think about preventing people from serving on committees or bringing things to a committee. We had a whole nother policy that allowed us to establish committees. And that vote carried. So if we had a person who needed a voice, the committee would permit that. I don't think that the committee issue is a part of this policy as I read it. Now, I may have missed something.
Ms. Davis, I think you may be talking about B policies for the board to be able to form committees and ad hoc committees, no? There's another staff, I'm not familiar with that, so I apologize for my ignorance, but I'm not familiar with.
Sure, but I
Okay.
believe that I couldn't understand why we were making a policy to allow the schools to form committees.
Sorry, your mic is off.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize for that. So no, I thought that last month we voted on a policy to allow committees, the schools to form committees or something. It seems,
I'm sorry.
or maybe I just I maybe misread that, but okay. I didn't see where this particular policy had anything to do with their voice only being heard through committees.
Okay. I am not familiar, so I apologize.
That's okay.
Dr. Yeager, you kind of are the policy wonk in this group. Do you remember a policy on staff being able to form committees?
Not staff, the schools, it was in the schools, but that's okay, don't worry about it, I'll look for it, and if I find it,
Okay.
good, if not, I dreamed it, it's okay.
Thank you, thank you, Ms.
Can we
Davis.
call the question?
Okay, the question has been called. So all in favor of a substitute motion to remove policy GAC from tonight's agenda for a vote, return it to the district for further iterations, raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All opposed, raise your hand and raise your hand high.
Nay.
Nay. Raise your hand and say nay. Okay, so that's 3. So that motion passes. So now we have sent policy GAC back to the district for further iterations.
Can you tell me who seconded that motion, please?
Uh-oh, Dr. Yeager. Thank you. Motion was made by Mrs. Bagby, seconded by Dr. Yeager. And she also called the question, so thank you for your expeditious move of the meeting. Okay, now we are at, oh my gosh.
That we adjourn.
I'm so shocked. All right, all in favor of adjourning, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you so much for your patience, everyone.